Oh, okay. So the link you sent, Sheikh, is just to front history.
Yep, I will send the main one as well if you need.
Oh,
so anyone who comes on now will be able to hear us. So Assalamu alaikum, we are live on YouTube now. So welcome to those who are joining us. So welcome to those who are joining us on YouTube, all those who have joined us on Zoom, inshallah. So we are going to start off with Mufti Hilal listening to some of the students. So rather than just waiting for people to join, we're going to start with listening and hopefully save some time on this, inshallah. Okay. So how do you want to do this, Mufti?
So who's going to start? Do we have any volunteers?
So let me know their name, Mufti, and I'll enable their mic.
Okay, cool. Let's just start with Zahra. Go on. Okay, Fiza Ibrahim. Oh, go on. Zahra's on.
Zahra, your mic's on. You just need to unmute yourself.
It doesn't let you.
Zahra, I have enabled it from my end.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, yes, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay, stop. Are we doing it to Surah Fatiha or to Thana?
Yes, and just a few verses of Fatiha, what we did last week.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu Akbar. Allah is the greatest. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa tabarakasmuka wa ta'ala jadduka wa la ilaha ghayrak. All glory be to you, O Allah, and praise be to you. How blessed is your name and how exalted is your majesty, and there is no one worthy of worship besides you. Subhanakallah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. That all we did?
Yes. But that all we did is not a verse in Surah Fatiha.
Oh, interesting, Sheikh.
Iyaka next.
Yeah.
I'm only joking. Up to Maliki Yawmiddin, that's fine. Can you give us the translation for that? Those 3 verses?
All praise belongs to Allah, Lord of all worlds, the most gracious and the most merciful, and the master of the day of judgment.
Good. Well done. MashaAllah. Fantastic. Good stuff. You know, can you do your takbir one more time?
Oh.
Zahra? Do the takbir one more time.
I was doing it. I thought you could hear me.
Do it again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu. What happens after Allahu?
Allahu Akbar.
Yes. Well done. So that's actually quite a common mistake. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. So just like you did at the end, just make it clear. Allahu Ak. So the alif stands out nice and clearly. Good, well done, mashallah. So you got one thing to focus there for next week, inshallah.
Hussein is saying needs to be more full mouth. So Hussein, if you want to let us know what you mean. We need our
students to pick up on mistakes.
Yep.
Wa alaikum assalam, philosopher.
Yes, Sheikh.
Yes, Hussein, you're going to demonstrate what was the error that you're trying to pick out on, and then you can read next. So if you come onto the mic and you can explain, and then you can
I've enabled your mic, Hussein, and also Fiz Brahim enabled yours just in case.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Hussein saying he hasn't got a mic.
Oh, he hasn't got a mic.
Ah, that's fine.
That's
That's an easy way to get away, isn't it?
right.
Haha, just joking, Hussein.
You've lost it.
Okay, so who's next?
Ibrahim wanted to go next.
Go for it.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Oh, it was Ibrahim. Ibrahim,
Yeah.
do you have to go somewhere after this?
No.
So you're saying it so fast.
Say slowly.
For an appointment.
Allahu Akbar. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika.
Oh.
Wa tabaraka ismuka. Wa ta'ala jadduka. Wa la ilaha ghayruk. How perfect you are, O Allah, and I praise you. So blessed is your name, and so high is your status, and none has the right to be worshipped except you.
Wow, mashallah. Did you learn a bit of Surah Fatiha?
Yeah, I know Surah Fatiha already.
Okay, go and give us the first 3 verses.
Firstly, okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
MashaAllah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
When you Qari on board.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
رب العالمين. You said to do the first 3 lines.
أعوذ بالله بسم الله الحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay, that will do. That will do. MashaAllah, well done. I love the energy and the enthusiasm. I think we need to have a qira'ah course as well, isn't it, Sheikh? Where people can practice the tartil.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
There were a few mistakes in there, but should we carry on for now, Mufti Hilal?
Yep. There was one thing that I picked at the beginning, which again goes back to the Allahu Akbar. I think there was a slight stretch at the beginning, so it became Allahu Akbar. And interestingly enough, when you stretch it, you know what that does to the meaning? It actually turns it into a question, because it becomes Allah, Allah. So now it means, is Allah the greatest? But just by stretching that alif at the beginning, from saying Allah is the greatest, it goes into a question, says, is Allah the greatest? So see how the meaning has changed totally just by changing one letter. Okay, good. Well done, mashallah. Okay, who's next? Faisal.
Go next. Okay, right. Allahu Akbar. Allah is the greatest. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika. Wa tabaraka ismuka. Wa ta'ala jadduka. Wa la
Wataba. Before you move on, wataba.
وتبارك اسمك
There.
وتبارك اسمك
Well done, mashallah.
على جدك ولا إله غيرك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. مالك يوم الدين. Is that what we did?
Maliki yawmiddin is the last verse that we did.
Okay. With the name
Sorry, go on, Karen.
with the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind. To Allah belongs all praise, Lords of the world. The most merciful, the most kind.
Master. Maliki.
Master of the day of judgment.
Master of the Day of Judgment. Fantastic, mashallah. Sorry, I got a bit put off with this interesting question that says, is beard haram?
Interesting.
Did you see that, Sheikh?
Yep. So I was going to bring that up. So seeing that it is a fiqh made easy lesson, could you respond to this question in a very easy manner? Oh, who started reading there? That sounded like Ibrahim and his beautiful voice.
Oh, start it with an us.
Dr. Shoaib is saying, my tajweed needs work. So, Dr. Shoaib, this is what this lesson is about, is to work on your tajweed. So,
You're meant to be on the Zoom, isn't it?
yep. So, Dr. Shoaib, could you please come on to Zoom so we can all benefit from your beautiful voice as well?
And the smile.
Yep. So, yeah. So, if you would like to answer that question. So, a question has come through.
I'm still baffled by the question.
Yeah. Is beard haram?
Is beard haram? It depends. Is beard meant to be beer?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I think it might meant to be beer, because I remember we did a session on is alcohol haram or halal.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
No, but then it will be bear, isn't it? Like bear, like a bear in the thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
No, we meant alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Well, you can't eat beard. That's what I'll tell you. So beard is haram, yes. You can't eat human parts.
Oh. What if it's for medicinal purposes, Sheikh?
You use the human body for medicinal purposes.
Human hair.
Good question, Chef. What do you think about this? You only use your target. What do you think about this?
Well, oh, there's another point here, Sheikh. There's well, let's say Assalamu alaikum to Abu Bakr Bojank. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Dr. Shoaib is saying, I would love to, Sheikh. However, I am just preparing for Michael Roos's interview, intending to start next week, inshallah. So, yeah, we'd like to have Dr. Shoaib on here. I wonder how you read Surah Fatiha, Sheikh. I'm quite interested to hear you. So we'll inshallah get that chance.
The American accent.
I just searched on the web. It says I searched is beard haram, and it came up as why is shaving beard haram instead of why beard is.
Oh, so that might be interesting case for Dr. Shoaib.
Oh.
So, so Fizza, you're mentioning about Dr. Shoaib's question, is beard haram? And you're saying it is haram, but to shave it is haram.
No, it's when I asked that question on Google, the question came up as why is shaving beard considered haram, not is beard haram.
Right. So are you saying that Dr. Shoaib needs to resend his question properly?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I'm a bit unsure.
It might be.
Right. So Dr. Shoaib, hope that made sense and hope that helped. It was Ustad Fizza who gave that suggestion, inshallah.
Wow. Okay, shall we move on? Shall we move on with our Salah?
So just to let everyone know, those of you who are joining us now, we were just listening to some of the students at the start rather than wasting our time waiting. We listened to our students just to get the ball rolling. And our actual session starts now with Mufti Hilal. So Mufti Hilal, over to you, inshallah.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa ta'qibatu lil muttaqeen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyid al-Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we have been through Takbir, Thana, and we started off Surah Al-Fatiha. Now I think I'm going to make a request here for Ustad Hamid that maybe Surah Fatiha, Surah Falak and Nas, if we can have a session on that in the tafsir session. What do you think about that,
Yep,
Sheikh?
that sounds good, inshallah. Yep, absolutely.
What that can do is that can then allow us to rush forward with the actual Salah itself. And then we did go into a introduction into the Thana and the first few verses of Surah Fatiha to help get everybody's mind focused on the right things.
Yep.
But I think for the rest of it, we'll highlight main points and then maybe we can go into more detailed discussion in the tafsir session. That way when students, because the idea is the more you learn about a certain verse or the more you learn about a certain surah, when you read that surah, all of those things that you've learned about come to your mind. So it gives you a much richer experience when you're actually reciting the Quran, especially in Salah. So the more you know about a particular verse, the more that experience is going to be beautified and multiplied. So we were going through Surah Al-Fatiha. We did Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Now what do we have left? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. So only you do we serve, and only you do we seek help from. And those that are aware of the Arabic language, this could have been نَعْبُدُكَ, but instead Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed it around. It could have been we serve you, we worship you, right? But instead it was only you, to give it exclusivity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That when it comes to worshipping, the most important thing for us is our creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is nothing in this world that could be more important to us than the one who has created us. So if we think that we're tired and we have to compare our tiredness with maybe having to pray Isha before we go to sleep. So what's more important for you guys? Going to sleep or praying your Isha before you go to sleep? Or same with Fajr. You might be extremely tired at Fajr time. What's more important? Your sleep again or your Fajr? So pulling that blanket off you, getting out of your bed into the cold, maybe going to the bathroom to perform your wudu. So you go through those sacrifices. Why? Because you've made a statement when reading Surah Al-Fatiha that إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, that it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we worship. We don't worship our games, we don't worship our free time, we don't worship our friends, our gadgets, our social media followers. We don't care about any of that when it's competing with worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. And then إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do we seek help. Now, in this world, we might seek help from other people as well. Like if you fall over, you might need someone to give you a hand. If you hurt yourself, you might need to go to somebody else. But ultimately, who is the one that can give to you what that person is passing over to you? Everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the ultimate giver. So he is the one who can give you cure. He is the one that can give you nourishment after you eat your food. He's the one who gives you the rest after you've gone to sleep. Sometimes you might go to sleep, but you might wake up and you're even more groggy than when you actually went to sleep. So that sleep was totally useless because it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing everything in the background. And moving on, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Guide us to the straight path. What do you guys think we mean by the straight path? صراط المستقيم.
Guide us to the path where it's the right path, the right choice.
So the right one, not the left one, right?
No, the path that is right in not the sense of right and left, as in the sense that it's the right choice to make. So it's the good
right. Okay, it's the right choice to make in life. It's not about going right and left. It's about making the right decisions in life. What kind of worldview do you have? How do you look at this world? How are you going to take what's right and what's wrong? How are you going to make these big decisions about the way you choose to live your life? There's going to be a right way and a wrong way. And the right way is going to be whose path? صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. The path of those people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has favored. And when they pass away, for them is a lot of reward. They get to go to paradise. As opposed to غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Not the path of those people who have earned the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not the path of those who have gone astray. Now, that's Surah Al-Fatiha. So what we want everyone to do for next week is go over your Surah Al-Fatiha, perfect it, and remember, when you recite verse by verse and have a pause in between, if you just let yourself go and you read the first verse and you don't pause after that first verse and you carry on reading and reading, I guarantee you, before you know it, your salah is going to come to an end. You'll be saying Assalamu alaikum, you won't have even realized that you've been through 4 rakats, for example. Read the first verse and pause for a moment and ponder. Read the second verse and pause for a moment, not too long, just for a small moment. Read the third verse and pause, and keep pausing after each verse so that it keeps you relaxed, it keeps you calm, and you enjoy as you go along. And inshallah, if you want more detail regarding these verses, then we can arrange for the tafsir session to be more focused on Surah Al-Fatiha for a little while, Surah Al-Fatiha and these last couple of surahs. So we've got our structure at the moment. Remember, our mind should only be focusing on what we're reading. Everything else about the world should be cut away. Our posture should be straight. We shouldn't be moving around. We shouldn't be fidgeting. We shouldn't be playing with our watches or glasses or anything that we have on us. And we get through Surah Al-Fatiha, at the end of which we say Ameen, and then we move on to another surah. So you're going to start every rak'ah with Surah Al-Fatiha. Okay. Now this I wanted to bring in because I think this is absolutely beautiful. And this enhances a person's connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. So the virtue, some of you may have learned this as part of your memorization lesson, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I have divided Salah between myself and my servant into two halves. My servant will have what he has asked for. Now look at this. When you in Salah recite, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually responds to you. And he says, my servant has praised me. Then you recite, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to you and says, my servant has honored me highly. Then you say, Maliki Yawmiddin. So that's why it's so important that we read slowly. We just slow it down and just understand and appreciate the fact that you're having this discussion with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you say, Maliki Yawmiddin, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, my servant has submitted himself to me. And then you say, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is between me and my servant shall have what he asks for. And finally, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you will have whatever you ask for. Okay. And as soon as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you are going to have what you ask for, the next part of your prayer is a dua which makes you ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. That guide us to the straight path, the path of those whom you have favored, not the path of those who have earned your anger and gone astray. Okay. So in Surah Al-Fatiha, the reason why we want to go into it and we want to understand what Surah Al-Fatiha is about is because Surah Al-Fatiha is going to be read in nearly every single salah that you read, in nearly every single rakat that you read. That's why understanding Surah Al-Fatiha is absolutely crucial, very important for us to understand. Otherwise, it's just going to be something which we run past. Okay, and moving on. After you finish Surah Al-Fatiha, you're going to pick another surah from the Quran and you're going to recite a surah. So for example, here, I have Surah Al-Falaq. That's why I'm saying, oh, actually, there's a little discussion here. Isn't it like a online Zoom prayer that some people are doing? What do you mean by that? Do you mean that we are doing an online Zoom prayer, which we initially said was not allowed?
No, Ustad, I put up a point and I said once we've covered the entire steps of Salah,
Yep.
I was gonna say maybe we could put everyone's screen on and we could pray together. But then Zahra
Interesting.
said I can't have
It doesn't have to be an actual, but what you can do is you can demonstrate what you've learned as though you are praying. Yeah?
or
So that won't be an actual prayer, but what you can do is you can demonstrate what you've learned and go through the step by step, and just show us. And that can be kind of like your assessment to see how well you have done in terms of perfecting your salah.
I said,
And remember, performing salah is a lifelong journey. It's not something that you're just going to do for a week or 2 weeks or be perfected. We want to become better every single day. So the next salah that we read, we want that to be better than the one we read previously. And the next salah after that should be even better than the one before, and the one after that should be even better. So as you go through your life and you get older and older, and 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years pass by, and you get older and older, your salah should actually become even more better and spiritually much more beneficial and fruitful for you than your salah of your early days, if you want to put it that way. So after Surah,
also what I said is we could get one of our parents or siblings to record us praying and maybe share it.
That is a good way of actually, if you want to know, and we're going to do an example of this. sometimes there are certain postures in Salah which you might not know if you're doing well or not. So it's always good for someone to observe you and then they can correct you. Also, they could take a video, they could take a picture, and then you can have a look at it and you can work on that. But inshallah, we will go into that very shortly. So, Sana, Surah Al-Fatiha, finish that off with a nice Ameen. And then you start a surah. And this can be a short surah. It can be a long surah. It can be however you want to read the surah. Okay, so just as an example here, I have Suratul Falaq. So many of you will have learned this. Many of you may not have. So what we can do is next week, you can choose Suratul Falaq if you want, or you can choose another surah. Okay, there's an option there. After Suratul Fatiha, you can read any surah. So maybe Suratul Falaq, you may want to choose Suratul Ikhlas, whichever surah you know. Pick one which you know the meaning for as well, and then we can listen to you guys. So from next week, inshallah, we'll carry on with this idea of presenting our salah in front of everybody so that we can all critique each other and make sure that we can help each other perform the best salah that that person can perform. Okay, Suratul Falaq. So I have a surah here, that's an example. Once you finish reciting your surah, you're now going to move off the position of standing, okay? And you're going to go down into the next posture of salah, which is ruku. Now, as you move, you need to recite something. What are you going to recite as you move off from qiyam, from the standing position into ruku? Just use the chat on Zoom or the chat on YouTube. Whenever we move around in salah, we recite something. So what are you going to recite when you move off standing position into ruku? Again, you can use the chat on Zoom or on YouTube. There's something you recite.
Is it takbir?
So are you going to say takbir as you go down?
Really, what was the question again?
Yeah.
The question, that means you weren't listening carefully. So the question is, what do you recite when you move from the standing position into ruku?
Allahu
Allahu Akbar. Yeah. So Zahra was right, it's takbir. But by takbir, you're
Also,
referring to the Allahu Akbar. Okay. So just like when you start your salah and you raised your hand and you said Allahu Akbar and you put yourself into the salah, then your Thana, Fatiha, and then a surah. Yes, that's a good point. The philosopher mentioned, and you recite Bismillah before you start the surah as well. After Surah Al-Fatiha, you read Bismillah and then you start the surah. Yep.
Bilal, Zahra sent a link.
Yep.
She sent a link for. It said one man was fined yeah, she sent it again. One man was fined £170, I think it was. It says here, Allahu Akbar. There actually are simple. It's Allahu Akbar. It is literally the scariest word in the world. Actually, combination of two words. A Muslim man was fined £170 for saying Allahu Akbar in public in Switzerland when he said the phrase to express shock at seeing his friend.
SubhanAllah. What are you going to do about this, Faizan?
Now Zahra sent me the link and she asked, "Is it real?"
Oh, I don't know. I didn't write the link, unfortunately. We'll have to have a look, inshallah.
Oh, Ustad, I think Zahra wants to talk. Someone muted her.
Okay. 1 second. I'm just going to try and push forward because what's going to happen otherwise is we're not going to be able to finish up our salah, and we might be here for a few years and we might still be in the first rakats. So what I want to do, because we've been on the beginning of salah, we're on week 3. So we want to try and push forward. That's why I'm trying to push off the explanation of the surahs up to the tafsir class as well. Because even when we finish the actual practical demonstration of salah, there's still a lot of other things that we have to get through. For example, if you make a mistake, what do you do? Or what happens if you break your wudu in salah? There's all these different that we also have to discuss. So inshallah, if you keep your questions for towards the end, we can allocate about 10 minutes or so at the end, and we can address those questions, inshallah ta'ala. Is that okay, guys? Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so takbir, we get into ruku, and then you recite tasbih in ruku. Again, something that we need to practice for next week. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. So 3 times you can recite this, minimum of 3, and you can go on even more. So you can recite it 3 times, keep an odd number, 5 times, 7 times, 9 times, 11 times, 13 times, 15 if you want to. And you can go on for as long as you want to be in ruku and speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You just keep on reciting. Okay. Now, in ruku, how are you meant to be in ruku? What is your posture meant to be? There's a few different methods, especially for the boys and for the girls. Now remember, this is a demonstration according to the Hanafi school, as mentioned right at the start. So based on the Hanafi school, we have a few different ways. There's a way for the boys to do their ruku, and there's a way for the girls to do their ruku. Now, what am I showing in this slide? Okay, I'm going to start bringing some pieces to this slide, and I want you guys to guess what I am trying to demonstrate here. Okay. Okay. What do you think we've got so far? Again, use the chat. Standing. Interesting. Who's standing? That doesn't look like someone standing. Posture. Okay, now what do we have? Hangman. Exactly. We're going to play a bit of hangman. Beza, any idea? Hussein?
It was, what was it again?
Ustad, we thought maybe it was somebody first going standing in prayer, then going into ruku. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mufti, is that someone like when they have their hands on? Oh,
There you go. It is somebody
that's what I
in
was going
ruku.
to say.
Exactly, yes. So the reason why I wanted to show you this, actually, this last part is the best part. There you go. Now I think we have a complete picture. So the idea here in ruku is, this is for the boys, right? You need to be 100% straight. So your legs need to be straight. Now there's a certain way that your posture has to be, right? Your legs need to be it needs to be totally straight, not bent. Your knees shouldn't be bent. It should be straight. Now, what's the purpose? Sometimes if you see people getting a bit lazy, if you get a bit relaxed sometimes, what might happen is your knees start folding in, or you start crouching down a little bit. No, you want a strong posture. So your legs should be straight with your knees in, not folded. And your arms, can you see how the arms are straight? And the elbows, there's no elbow. This person doesn't even have an elbow, right? That's how straight it is. You wouldn't even tell that they have an elbow. It's straight, just like hangman. And finally, their back has to be straight as well. To the point that you have examples of if a glass of water was to be placed on the back, that glass of water wouldn't tip over and fall over. But this glass of water might not, because it's half empty anyway, or it's half full, depending on how you see it. So it needs to be as straight as you can. So you have a 90-degree angle right here, and your head needs to be straight. Sometimes people lift their head up here a bit. Sometimes they bend the head down too much. No, try and keep it as straight as possible. So head, neck, back, straight, and then going down, you have your legs should be straight, and then you have your arms straight without bending your elbows, without bending your knees, and without bending your neck. Okay, so that's the posture we want to be in ruku. When we get to this posture, we want to recite the dua that we just had. Yeah, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. So now this is one of the most important tips that I mentioned before as well. That remember, what we want to do is we want to stop ourselves from flying off in salah, and that happens a lot. And when that becomes a habit, it becomes very hard to break, and our salah just goes way too fast. Okay, so when you first get into ruku, have a pause there, just for a moment. So get yourself into ruku and just pause for a moment before you read, and then read your Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, pause, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, pause, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, And then pause again before you're about to stand up, because just stop, think for a moment that now you're going to go in your next posture. And then you recite the next dua, Sami Allahu liman hamida, that may Allah accept the one who praises him. So then you get yourself up and you recite Sami Allahu liman hamida as you get up. So the idea here is correct posture. Mind needs to be in the right place, again, focusing on what we're reading. And we need to be reading clearly, correctly, and understanding what we are reading. Now, in the Hanafi school, again, for girls, slightly different. So we've got same, your legs will be straight. But can you see we have a slight angle? We're not at 90 degrees anymore. We are more than 90, aren't we? What degree is that? 135. Zahra said 135. There you go. This is coming out quite well, actually. I didn't think it would come out so good. And of course, you need the head to top it off. So now what happens here with girls is you only need to bend down as much as you're able to reach your knees. Once you're able to reach your knees, that's sufficient. You don't need to bend down any more than that. So can you see the difference? I should have had maybe two next to each other. So you've got this for the boys. They're going to have to do a lot more exercise and bend their back as far as they can. Sometimes people bend their back too much and they end up going down here. Their body ends up going down here. And for the girls, try and bend your back a little bit, enough to be able to reach your knees. Okay, again, just use the comments if you can. It'll be easier so that we can move on. And then we'll leave the questions for the last 10 minutes, inshallah. Right, this I think is another very, very important one. And I think this is one of the last postures of Salah which we'll go through. What is this exactly? What is this? So you said Sami Allahu liman hamida, someone old. Why do you say it's someone old? Isn't that ageist? Okay. We're getting up from ruku. So we have these two individuals in ruku, and then they said Sami Allahu liman hamida, and they got up, and then they stand up straight. Now this I think is very important. The reason why this part of Salah is usually missed out by a lot of people. The reason why, imagine this is a person in ruku, right? How's that? How's that for a ruku? So this is the person's leg, this is the person's body. Now what happens sometimes is you're about to stand up for qiyam, to stand up again, but before you make it to the peak, you do a dive and you get into sajda. Before you're even able to stand up. So this happens a lot with a lot of people. It's like they you know when people dive into a swimming pool, right? So they kind of get themselves to this around here, right? And then they just jump in. So we don't want to be diving in Salah. We want to get up from our ruku and stand up straight. Stand up, arms by your side. And this should be a moment for your body to relax and find every body, every muscle, every part of your body should now go back to exactly how it was. And it should be able to relax. Arms by your side, looking down at where you're about to go into sujood. But stand up nicely, straight back. Okay, so that's the part I want to emphasize here. Do not, in your ruku, get up halfway, 45 degrees again, and then jump into ruku, into sujood. You want to stand up straight. Have a break here, and you have another dua that you're going to read, which is here. رَبَّنَا وَلَكَ الْحَمْدُ حَمْدًا كَثِيرًا طَيِّبًا مُبَارَكًا فِيهِ. That our Lord, to you belongs all praise, abundant, pure, and blessed praise. And there's an interesting virtue here that the Prophet ﷺ said that this can become a means of all of our previous sins being forgiven. So can you imagine one dua can be a means of all of your sins becoming forgiven? And also the Prophet ﷺ said that this prayer is so great that angels rush forward to be the first one to write down the reward. So if you wanted to, you could just say, رَبَّنَا لَكَ الْحَمْدُ. But here, the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us a dua which is even better than just saying, رَبَّنَا لَكَ الْحَمْدُ. That is, رَبَّنَا وَلَكَ الْحَمْدُ حَمْدًا كَثِيرًا طَيِّبًا مُبَارَكًا فِيهِ. So who doesn't want angels to be rushing down to write down rewards for you? Who thinks they have enough rewards that I'm just going to stick to Rabbana lakal hamd? No, exactly. You guys are saying, not me, not me, not me. Not me either. I feel like I'm in need of as much reward as I can get. That's why I want to make sure that I pray as much salah as I can, and I pray as best as I can. And I focus as much as I can in my salah, because I want to try and get as much reward as I can, because when I pass away, that is the one thing that is going to help me. That is what I will take with me into my grave. That is what I will take with me into the next life. And when I stand on the day of judgment, that is what I will have to present, nothing else. So it's all about gaining as much reward as you can. Can you imagine? Such a short dua. It takes a few seconds to recite. ربنا ولك الحمد حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه. That's it. So these are a few postures which I think we really need to work on. So we're going from standing, quick recap, Thana, A'udhu Billah, Bismillah, Suratul Fatiha, Bismillah, read a short surah, say Allahu Akbar and move yourself into ruku'. And if you're a boy, you make your 90 degree. And if you're a girl, then until you're able to reach your knees. Okay, and you read Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim 3 times. And then when you finish, have a break, have a pause, let yourself, kind of gather yourself together again, get your thoughts ready that now I'm going into my standing position. And then you say, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, and you stand up straight. Rabbana wa lakal hamd, hamdan kathiran, tayyiban, mubarakan fi. Okay, you get to here, then from here, you're going to go into sujood. A very important thing to remember here when you go into sujood is you're not meant to do a second ruku', which happens sometimes. When you're standing up and you need to go into sujood, some people bend their backs and go into sujood that way, okay? What that does is that kind of, it's like a second ruku'. So you're kind of fitting in a ruku' and then getting into sujood. Whereas what you need to do is you need to go down. So you bend, can't really do this, can I? Let's try this way. You bend your knees and you come down and then you go into sujood, okay? So maybe do a practical demonstration, Shresh.
Yeah, I remember once when I was back in Darul Uloom, the way someone explained, I don't know if it's a good idea to explain it that way. So after you stand up from ruku', the way you go down is it's almost like you're standing next to a wall, and and you kind of slip down that wall like this and then go into sajda. It's just a way of understanding how to do it without kind of going down like this. You're going down like this. Yeah, you might want to give a practical demonstration, Sheikh.
Imagine if you want to, you're trying to stay up against the wall, like I've got this wall behind me, and you don't want to be seen by anybody, so you don't want to come out at all. You want to just stay against the wall, and you're just going to slide down slowly until you get into a position where you're now going to go into sujood. So for this session, we'll pause here. We'll keep up to this stage of our salah. So again, everyone needs to be, we're going slowly because that gives everyone a chance to work and affect each stage of their salah. Yeah. So the takbir, the thana, the fatiha. The reason why I say this is the most important is because that's going to be standardized across every single salah. You're going to be praying these parts of salah regularly. So for next week, what you guys can do, we've covered quite a few surahs. We've covered certain du'as, additional du'as to read. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim and Sami Allahu liman hamida and Rabbana lakal hamd hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi. What you can do is, these are all in your memorization books anyway. So you can have a look at the numbers are here as well actually. So these, as far as I remember, are all in level 2, the blue level. So dua number 24, 23, 22, have a look at them. You'll find all the du'as for salah. So learn them, memorize them as best as you can, focus on the meaning, and try and get this as best as you can. And inshallah, at the start of next week's lesson, we'll be able to do a quick run through. Maybe we'll select some students, or if we have enough time, then we'll go through all the students and we'll just go through the salah. And what I'm trying to do, maybe next week, we can move on and try and finish off the salah, because there's not too much left. Once we get to the tashahhud, it's quite simple after that. And then there's a lot of things around salah that we still have to understand, like certain things break your salah, for example. Certain actions and movements break your salah. What to do if your wudu breaks, what to do if you have a nosebleed, what to do. There's so many different options. But what happens if you're praying behind an imam? I realized that with this lockdown, a lot of people didn't even know how to pray behind an imam or how to lead a salah, for example. Because we're so used to going to the masjid and somebody else leading us in prayer that if we had to lead, then we kind of get confused and we don't know what to do. So these kind of things also need to be discussed, inshallah. But hopefully within a few sessions, we'll be able to wrap up all these other discussions that we have regarding our salah.
Brilliant.
Okay,
There's a
Sheikh.
question on the in the Q&A section from Fizbrahim. My grandma is older and she needs to sit on a chair when praying. Does the ruku rule still apply to her?
Yeah, so I guess that's another discussion that we need to have with how a person who is unable to stand prays. So there's different ways that a person can pray if they're not well and they're not able to stand or they're not able to go into sujood. So for example, they can sit on the floor. They can sit on the floor like I'm sitting. You can even stretch your legs out when you're sitting on the floor. And you can even lean back on something, depending on how severe your illness is. And there's also a scope to pray on a chair and pray. Now, you're still going to perform ruku because you've asked the question. We'll go into more detail when we cover that section. But because you've asked the question, if someone's praying on a chair, what you do is you bend forward slightly for ruku. And when you do sujood, you bend forward a bit more than you did for ruku. So that's what you need to remember. You bend forward slightly for ruku. And then when you're going into sujood, and then you sit up again for your qawmah, and then you bend forward even more when you're going to do your sujood. But again, depending on how ill and how sick a person is, the rules and regulations are quite flexible depending on their circumstance. So some people are unable to stand. Some people can pray perfectly standing, but they can't go down because they have problems with their knees. So there's actually a method to pray your entire salah standing, which a lot of people don't know. You can actually pray your entire salah standing, and your ruku and sujood are just done by bowing slightly forward. So we'll cover that as well. So that's why I was trying to say that when we cover just the main essence of salah, there are all these other discussions that also apply. That when you're sick, what about if you're traveling? What are you meant to do when you're traveling? Is there any leniency? Are there any shortcuts that you can take when you're traveling? Because everybody likes shortcuts, of course. And the philosopher asked, can a Hanafi do Raf'ul Yadayn? Again, Raf'ul Yadayn is a matter of afdaliyah, what's preferred and what's not. In the Hanafi school, if I'm not mistaken, they take the opinion via Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, that the preferred way is to pray without the Raf'ul Yadayn. I think in the Shafi'i school and other schools, they do Raf'ul Yadayn before and after ruku. In the Fara'id, as far as I remember, the guidance is in the fara'id, you stick to what is the most preferred way within your school. But when it comes to the nawafil, then there's a bit more scope to implement the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if somebody was to do with that intention, again, it's a matter of afdaliyah, it's a matter of what's most virtuous. So it's not something that's going to invalidate your salah in that sense.
Mufti Hilal?
Yes.
Oh, Dr. Shoaib, so we have someone who's either copying Dr. Shoaib, pretending to be Dr. Shoaib, or it's actually Dr. Shoaib pretending to be Dr. Shoaib by a student. Yes. But anyway, we'll probably never get to the bottom of what's actually going on. Jazakallah for that, Sheikh. Is there any homework that you want to set? So
yeah,
other than the surahs?
Yeah, so I think the surahs, so they're going to prepare a surah each.
Nice.
It doesn't have to be Surah Al-Falaq. It can be one that they've learned with the meaning. And there's so many in the memorization book. It can be a shorter one. You can just pick one which you're going to read. And then after that, we'll listen to you and we'll listen to the meaning as well. The meaning is very, very important. We want to be able to understand what we're reading as we go along.
Perfect. Sounds great. Alhamdulillah.
Yarhamukallah.
Yahdikumullah wa yuslih balakum. Okay. Right. So there were a few questions, I think, from what I can recall, on YouTube. Let's have a look.
Okay. We had the beard question.
Yeah. If we come back to that. Oh, so you've answered philosopher's question, right?
Yep.
Cool. That's fine. The beard question, yeah. So if you want to, Mufti Hilal, talk about the beard question, it's entirely down to you. Dr. Shoaib is interested to know. And the interesting thing is, philosopher MMA has mentioned, shall I mention what he said?
Yep.
He has said, to be honest, right? He said, to be honest, I always wanted to ask this question to Dr. Shoaib, but I was afraid to ask.
Maybe we can have Dr. Shoaib with us if he's here somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. Why not? Why not? Dr. Shoaib, are you with us? I don't think he is. Maybe his internet's a bit weak, if it's him, that is, because he misspelled his own name. If it was him.
We have a lot of
oh, there's a new question here from Dr. Yahya. So there's lots of doctors flying around here. Dr. Yahya is saying, is it okay to shape my beard?
Dr. Yahya, I'd say ask your dad.
That's interesting. That's an interesting fatwa, Sheikh.
How's that, Sheikh?
Interesting fatwa that you just gave. So, Dr. Yahya, if there's anything else you'd like to add to that, Dr. Yahya, if you'd like to add to that, it would be great to hear from you as well.
What shapes are you planning, Sheikh? Are you the stars or like the moon?
Yeah, that's another good question. What shapes?
Maybe
it's because Dr. Yahya is doing a PhD in the Ottoman Hajj and in Ottoman history. Maybe he wants to do the crescent shape, Sheikh. I'm not sure.
As long as he's not making a cross.
Oh,
a cross might be problematic.
The philosopher MMA has come forward once more and said, I think Dr. Shoaib's beard is valid according to the Shafi'i fiqh.
Interesting.
Dr. Yahya is asking, is it okay to get a step cut or a bowl cut?
Sheikh, I'll tell you one thing. I don't have to worry about that because I'm technically bald, Sheikh. So I have a bold cut as opposed to a bowl cut.
Interesting. My hair has started growing back now, alhamdulillah. Can you see? That was quick, wasn't it? That escalated fast, Sheikh.
That doesn't happen to my hair, Sheikh.
Yep.
Growing back part has kind of left me.
Interesting. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else would like to ask or say before we depart from Al Mufti?
We can do all of these questions in a session, Sheikh. So inshallah, after our salah, like the fiqh of taking care of yourself.
Oh, nice. I like
grooming your hair, limitations on the beards. Again, I'll look at it from a Hanafi school perspective, of course.
And then as part of that, we can get maybe Dr. Yahya on to show us all his beard oils and combs.
Sheikh Yahya, if you can start growing your hair from now, and what we can do is each session you can start cutting it in different styles, and we can verify whether it's allowed or not.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Philosopher MMA is back once more, and Philosopher MMA is asking, is beard sunnah or fard?
In the Hanafi school, in between wajib, right, to grow your beard, and a fist length generally.
So is the fist part of the Hanafi school, or is it just like...
Have a look at it. There's a narration of, if I'm not mistaken, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, who I'm not sure, I can't remember the details at the moment.
Because as far from just like kind of reflecting on it, is that when the I think it was Abdullah ibn Umar when he kind of cut his beard after a fist, isn't it?
Yeah, because it was a hadith of growing your beard.
Would that be considered a technically a sunnah because it wasn't done in the presence of the Prophet, or there's no evidence of that?
Yeah, but then even if, for example, in the Hanafi school, the actions of a companion are considered within the remit of a sunnah.
Right.
But also, if you look at it this way, you have a.
But could it be taken to that? Could it be taken to that level, where you kind of take it to the wujub level?
No, but then it could already have started at the wujub level. That's what I'm saying, because you've got a command from the Prophet to grow your beard, to lengthen your beard, and this kind of gives a limitation to how far that is.
Right.
So, for example, if the command is to grow your beard, all this does is it adds a limit and a boundary to how far you have to grow your beard. So you find a permission to cut up to a fist length. It's kind of working backwards in that sense. Like you start off with the wujub from that way.
Okay, Philosopher MMA is saying, I have always had doubt about the Raf'ul Yadayn issue. Although I am a Hanafi, but after listening to critiques of the Hanafi fiqh, I've had some doubts about Hanafi fiqh. What are your suggestions?
Join a Hanafi fiqh course.
Sorry?
Oh, I was about to say join a Hanafi fiqh course.
Oh, so I remember there's
I think, to be honest, every school is valid.
Yep.
Sorry, yeah, what I was going to say is every school comes with, you remember one of the first sessions that we had about the machine. I think that plays a very, very important role, because every school is coming with their own formula, and that formula is going to determine how they play around with all the nusus, so the Quran, the verses in the Quran, the different ahadith, for example. And it may seem like there are contradictions amongst them. The Quran may say one thing, the hadith seems to say something that's slightly different. So how do you deal with all of that, and how do you reconcile between all of that? Every school is going to have their own methodology and approach to deal with all of that. So depending on the framework that they've set out, the conclusions are going to be according to that framework that is set out, right? So the process of the Shafi'i school is different to the process of the Hanafi school, which is different to the process of the Hanbali school, different to the process of the Maliki school. So it's not as simple as saying, okay, this hadith is extremely strong, and the Shafi'is have used this, and this hadith is slightly weaker, and the Hanafis have used this, so therefore we're going to say this position is stronger than this position. Because both schools might be looking at it totally different, because their criteria are totally different as well. For example, if you have a general statement, a mutlaq statement in the Quran, in the Hanafi school, you can't restrict that with conditions from hadith, which are of khabar wahid. Okay, the simple example, in the Quran, there's the verse of وَلْيَطَّوَّفُوا بِالْبَيْتِ الْعَتِيقِ, that perform tawaf and the rounds around the Kaaba. So that's there in the Quran. Now, in the Quran doesn't mention any other conditions in this regard regarding the tawaf, whether you have to be in the state of purity, tahara, whether you have to be wearing clothes or whatever, right? So the approach of the Hanafi school is what the Quran has mentioned will be at the highest level, so that will be fard. And then anything else that you're going to add on from the khabar wahid, from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, has to be a step slightly below that, because the Quran is on a level of tawatur, the highest level, and then these khabar wahid are slightly lower level. So you can't restrict something of the highest level with evidences of a slightly lower level. So that's just one example. So that's why then the Hanafis will have a structure of fard, wajib, sunnah, depending on how they're going to deal with all these different sources of information. Whereas in the Shafi'i school, for example, their principle might be, no, it's okay to use something that's found in a khabar wahid hadith statement and add that as a condition to something that's mentioned in the Quran. Now, because that principle is there for them, the outcome is going to be totally different. So now for them, there may be a lot more fara'id in terms of, it might be compulsory to have, it might be fard to have wudu, for example, when doing tawaf, as opposed to being wajib or sunnah. So that's what I'm trying to say, that when it comes to each madhab, they all have their own framework. And based on how their framework is developed, the Quran and Hadith is going in, they have their own principles, and their conclusions are going to be different. So it's not just as simple as this seems stronger than this. We have to kind of, in order to appreciate on that level, I would personally want to study every single madhab independently. Now, for example, that's why I don't speak about the Shafi'i school, for example, or I don't speak about the Maliki school and the Hanbali school, because my journey has been studying the Hanafi school. So I really, really want to master it. I want to master the usul, I want to master all the rulings and principles, understand how they've engaged with the nusus. And once I've learned that to a certain degree, then I'd want to go and maybe learn another school. How do the Shafi'i school work? And learn them independently. Because I think they all have their own unique way of working. So my advice would be, personally, if somebody really wants to understand a particular school, you have to go and study that particular school with scholars from that school. Now, I wouldn't go to a Hanafi scholar to study Shafi'i fiqh, and I wouldn't go to a Shafi'i scholar to study Hanafi fiqh. I'd look for experts in that field, and I'd go and study by them, the principles as well as the rulings. So you kind of understand exactly how the school is working. I hope that clarifies.
Jazakallah, Sheikh. There's just one last point that I'll just come into in terms of our madrasa. So philosophers asking, what if a person doesn't follow any fiqh and wants to follow Quran and Sunnah directly, do you think his position will be valid? And secondly, should a fiqh be followed because of their family, or can a person choose his own fiqh? Can I just jump into that, Sheikh? Because just to let you know, philosophy MMA. So as a madrasa, Fatima Elizabeth Frontistery, we are bang on in a very diverse part of London, right? Where we have people from all backgrounds, all countries as well. And similarly, that reflects Muslims as well. So we have Muslims from all different schools of thought. That would be Maliki, Shafi, Hanbali. Which one have I missed? Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, and Hanbali, right? Four of them. We also have people from the Ahlul Hadith. We have people who don't follow any of the schools. So as a madrasa, our policy is one of non-denominational. So our madrasa is a non-denominational madrasa. Therefore, we have students from all different schools of thought. However, because it so happens that the majority of students are from the Hanafi school of thought, therefore, the way it's taught in our madrasa is we teach the Hanafi school of thought, but then if we have students from other schools of thought, that will then be differentiated for them further. And I don't know if you can remember, Mufti Hilal, when I think a few years back when you were teaching Salah in your class, majority were Hanafis, but then you had, I think, some
one
Shafi
Maliki,
students
one
and one Maliki
yeah.
student as well. So Maliki and Shafi. So what the Mufti Hilal's lesson entailed then was, it was taught through the Hanafi worldview. But then when it came to the plenary at the end of the lesson, they had all the schools of thought doing slow motion of their own Salah, and students were told the differences, why the differences are there. Ultimately, the aim was to appreciate each other. That look, we come from a very long tradition since about 1200, 1300 years of these schools. They've had their past, they've had their history, which reaches to us, and they've gone through their own experience, they've gone through their own principles, and therefore I think they need to remain intact. And what's very interesting thing that happened during the Mamluk period in Egypt, or the Levant, so that includes Syria as well, was when Sultan Baybars took over, and they defeated the Mongols, and they came back to Egypt. He was now like the Mamluk Sultan, the ruler, and he wanted to diminish any kind of power that was there. The only power that stood in his way was, you could say, the Shafi'i Qadi. So it started off with a political move. So in order to diminish the power of the Shafi'i Qadi, what he did was, he said that every town needs to have all four schools of thought, and all four schools having their own court cases and their own courts, right? So what happened ultimately was that diminishes the power, the sole power of the Shafi'i Qadi, and it kind of spreads. It was like the divide and rule between the four schools. And then ultimately, in every town or city you went to in Mamluk Egypt, you had courts of the Maliki, Shafis, Hanbalis as well. So there are ways that it's been done in that sense in Islamic history, as in the schools, they stay intact, but as a citizen of that place, or as a resident, you have a choice between each. So what would happen at times is, for instance, for example, a woman, right? And I'm saying this, that I researched this a bit and I found it quite interesting. A woman who wanted to stipulate something in her marriage or in her nikah contract, just say she has, as an example, she has very, very old parents who live in Cairo with her, and she does not want her to move out. She does not want to move out of Egypt into another country, and she wants to make sure that her husband doesn't force her. So she wants to get that put in her nikah contract. Okay. Now, Mufti Hilal will tell you that based on the nikah principle within the Hanafi school, you cannot stipulate anything into the nikah contract. Right? You can't do that beforehand. Am I right, Mufti Hilal? So you can't put a condition that I'm going to marry so and so man with the condition that he doesn't force me to leave Egypt.
There are certain conditions that can be applied, but yeah, generally, most conditions are not taken into consideration.
And we're not talking about the small, minute exceptions.
Yeah.
So then, what she would have done, she would have gone to the Hanafi court, because she's a Hanafi herself, and then she would have asked this question. The Hanafis would have said, "Look, based on our school, we cannot help you. Go to maybe the Shafi court, and they will be able to help you, or one of the others." And then she would do that. So there was diversity when it came to the social life of the Muslims. But when it came to ibadat, right, when it came to worship, I don't think there's much evidence that people were, or Muslims were taking from the other. When it came to ibadat, people stuck to those trails of thought amongst those schools. When it came to the social element of society, I think that's where there was a bit more diversity. And we're talking just in terms of the historical context here. But yeah, so to answer your question from my end, that's going to be your own personal choice, right? As a madrasa, as an institute, we're not going to push anyone in any direction. People who come to us, they come already with either a school or a non-school or whatever perspective, and we have to try and work alongside all of them. I don't know, Mufti Hilal, what would you like to add anything? Or
I think that was sufficient.
yeah,
I
so
think
we just
interesting. Ustad if Ustad Yahya can maybe jump in on this later on, or if not now. I think there was a time in the Haram where they used to have four
yeah,
congregations, right?
that's interesting. Yeah,
One for the Hanafis, Shafi'is, Malikis, and Hanbalis. I don't know
that's
about the
interesting.
context behind or why or what happened. But yeah,
That was
maybe
during
that's
the
something that
Ottomans, yeah, absolutely. And I think Dr. Yahya, I remember he during one of his sessions, he actually spoke about that as well, the four different schools and how the Hanafi area, the building by the Hanafi mihrab, you can say, was, you know, it's more bigger than some of the others. And that does show the kind of power that was coming in from the Ottomans as well. But yeah, absolutely. And the important thing is our connection with Allah, whichever school you're following. Look at the objective. What's the purpose behind Salah? And as long as we can claim and we can say, yes, this is from the Sunnah of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you tell me which school of thought will not try their best to take their practice back to the Sunnah of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that's the way I think we're looking at it here. Jazakallah Mufti Hilal, we've gone over time. Jazakallah for your time. Jazakallah for your effort. And Jazakallah to all our students who were brave enough to actually recite the Thana and also part of Surah Fatiha as well, including the meaning. So well done for that, mashallah. Anything else? Dr. Philosopher MMA, I hope that answers your question. Maybe one day we should have Philosopher MMA here and we should ask him many questions.
That'd be a good idea.
Yep.
Turn
And
the
then
tables.
that will be good fun, inshallah. Yep, because the name Philosopher MMA is quite interesting because on one side you have philosophy, a lot of thought, and then the other side you have MMA, which is almost the opposite, isn't it? It's like, how does that work out, Mufti Hilal?
You'll have to ask the philosopher.
Yeah, the only thing I think we know about the philosopher is the Philosopher MMA is from India, so he is in India right now, and inshallah soon he will travel the world.
Inshallah. But
And
just, a lot of these questions that have been asked, we will have sessions on them, inshallah. So after we finish with, for example, Salah, we can have sessions on them. There's no problem. No, I don't have any problem in having these discussions. It's just I'd rather do them together.
Yep.
So that everything that needs to be discussed can be done properly. And also gives me time to look into everything that needs to be discussed and have a proper discussion, as opposed to maybe just giving a few points regarding one discussion and a few regarding the other. It kind of just keeps it together. But that's what there's a few topics that I had in mind. One was, for example, hair, beard, that kind of stuff, clothing, jewelry. A lot of that is quite important because they're separate rulings. What can men wear? What can women wear? Gold and silver and all of that kind of stuff. Also to do with food, what kind of food, halal, haram, how do you work all of that out? So many products have so many ingredients in them. How do we navigate through all of that and determine what we should be eating, what we shouldn't be eating? So there's so many more discussions to have beyond our ibadat. Inshallah, once we finish our salah, then we can start investigating into, start looking into going into these different areas, inshallah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jazakallah. And just to remind everyone that our sessions that we have with Mufti Hilal are based around the Hanafi school of thought. And one of the reasons is the majority of our students are from the Hanafi school of thought. So that's why we're doing that, because I did get some questions privately about which school of thought is being taught here. So it's the Hanafi school of thought. It's not that we have different, where we feel different towards the other schools, but just as history. I mean, it's all down to history that we're Hanafis, right? I mean, it comes that in the 1258, Mufti Hilal's got a smile on his face. Mufti Hilal, what is the smile for? What's the history behind that?
100%. Historically a Hanafi, right?
Yeah, because when the Mongols attacked Baghdad in 1258, they killed many ulama. They say that the river at that time changed color twice on that day. First it went black with the the ink of the books, right? So they got all the books of the libraries, threw them into the oceans, the color turned black, and then they killed so many ulama, so many people, and threw them in the river that it became red, right? And maybe it's the other way around, but red and black. And at that point, there were many Hanafi scholars who grabbed as many books as they could, and they migrated over to India or Hind. And that's how a lot of the emphasis on Hanafi fiqh begins in India, which is quite interesting. With the what would you say? It begins with the Mongol sacking of Baghdad.
It's always good behind everything, right?
Yep. The
Yeah,
Mongol
the
sacking
philosopher
of
has given his name.
Yep.
Muddathir Ali, mashallah.
Mir Muddathir Ali.
Oh, Mir Muddathir Ali.
There's an author with that name as well, as from what I can recall. But anyway, Jazakallah for that. Inshallah, we will see you soon. Next week on Friday, there is a different session taking place. So next week, just to let you know, next week we are not going to have the fiqh session like this, right? It's just being postponed to the following week, because next week at Mufti Hilal, it's Friday at 3 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so next week, and are we going to have your session as well after that, or?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I think we'll keep it. That's fine.
Yeah,
Ignore what I said. Just remember, for now, next week, Friday at 3 o'clock, we will have a guest with us talking about something very, very important. Some of you students may not be so relevant to you, but it'll be important that you attend that lesson, only so that you have an idea of the various options you have out there if you want to take Alamiya as an option, just for instance. It's not going to be on Zoom, it's going to be on YouTube, because we're using StreamYard for this. Hope that's clear, inshallah. Jazakallah, everyone. I think it's time to close on our lesson, and inshallah we'll see you very soon. And our students, make sure that you are on time tomorrow for all your tajweed lessons and your Islamic studies lessons, and those of you on Sunday, make sure you do that. Last but not least, I wanted to add in one last point. That's going to something that's going to happen on Sunday. So I'm just taking it out from my phone. This Sunday, inshallah, there is actually a children's socially distanced walk against racism. So that's taking place on Sunday, the 28th of June, from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Okay, make sure that you try and attend. I will be there, so you might see me on my bike with my family there. It's in Wanstead Flats. Okay, if you don't know where that is, you can check my WhatsApp status. And and those parents who are bringing children, make sure that you fulfill your responsibility of keeping your children socially distanced from everyone else. And it is in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. So please do try and attend. But most importantly, you will have a chance to speak on the loudspeaker. So if you want to talk against racism, here is your chance. If you have a poem that you want to share, here is your chance. If you want to share anything, just a few words of wisdom or your feelings about racism, you can share that, inshallah. So you might want to prepare for it. You've got till Sunday. Share your feelings. Maybe you want to talk about how Islam or how Prophet ﷺ inspired you to be against racism, or how your religion inspires you to be against racism. This is something that I want our students to partake in, if possible, inshallah. So I will definitely be there, but I would like to see our students not only coming, but also participating in sharing and expressing themselves in regards to what they feel about racism. Okay, Jazakallah, Mufti Hilal, for letting me advertise that.
No problem.
Will you be there, Mufti Hilal? That is the question.
Inshallah, why not?
Are you going to come on your bike?
I'll have to dust that thing down.
Fantastic. Sounds great, Sheikh.
Inshallah.
So maybe we'll see you there from a distance, inshallah. Okay, and maybe we can then do a Zoom session live, just to ensure that philosopher MMA can join us as well, inshallah.
The fiqh of protesting.
Yep, the fiqh. There you go, Sheikh. There's the next week's lesson. Oh, so this Sunday's lesson. Sorry, Sheikh. Zahra wants to ask something. Very quickly, Zahra, because we've got literally 30 seconds before we leave.
Dad,
Yes.
You know you said we were going to do for the students we were going to do an Urdu session. I know we can do
Yes.
that.
I really want to do that, but I don't know where to start from.
Stop.
And plus, oh, another thing is because I've been very, very busy with research on Fatima Elizabeth, the lady. Therefore, it's been a bit busy for me. So I am hoping to write the book which I've started. Now, Mufti Hilal's read, I think, about 3 or 4 pages of it. How was it, Mufti Hilal?
Very good, very good. It kind of brings all the main important aspects of her life together. That's quite interesting.
Yep. So
And,
yeah, so that's the reason. Yeah.
I think Fizza wants to enable her mic.
Yes, Fizza. 1 second, let me check. Oh, Fizza, go for it, Fizza. Very quickly. We now have 20 seconds left.
Sorry, it's not really a question, but me and Ibrahim have actually been riding our bikes a lot more often.
Oh
Now-
wow.
And we're thinking,
It was probably the because we started watching. So on your FET page, we started watching all the old bicycle videos.
Oh, interesting.
And got really inspired to do it ourselves, and we used to remember how
Yeah.
much fun we used to have. And now that we're stuck
Wow.
indoors and not doing a lot of exercise,
we started riding our bikes
a lot more often. We'd ride to the fields, ride around there like a few times, and ride back home.
Yeah, there's a field near your house. I've seen that. It's quite big as well.
Yeah.
You live near Can Hall Mosque, isn't it?
No.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Ibrahim.
Forgot where he lives.
He thought
Yep.
you were talking about Masjid al-Umar.
Zahra said, Ibrahim, can you recite something?
Right, so I think what we'll do is we'll answer this last question, which basically allows us to end the session. If you look, Sheikh, by the anonymous attendee, Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. All right,
Perfect.
guys, I will see you soon, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.